And we are under the floodlights. We have been for nearly the best part of an hour here in the Pavia region in Italy, and welcome along to our viewers on GoTV channel 809, IRK TV YouTube, IRK Promotion Facebook, and of course Italian Digital TV channel 244. We have just over 17 and a half hours of the second edition of the 24 presented by TB Carts and IRK Promotion. Well, there has been a lot happening in the meantime since we went off air at 6 p.m. But let's head down to Elena for the first time this evening.
Eccoci, bentornati in diretta, sono le 20:30, è calata la notte, devo dire che le condizioni atmosferiche stanno tenendo, e intorno a me vedete un po' di movimento, come è ovvio che sia, perché ovviamente i piloti continuano a darsi il cambio. Sono trascorse diverse ore ormai dall'inizio di questa 24 ore. Gas Racing Team, come sta andando? Innanzitutto nome e cognome.
Gabriele Gargano.
Stai per scendere in pista, per tornare in pista?
Sì. Tra l'altro adesso mi aspetta un turno di guida piuttosto lungo, devo fare un'ora e mezza perché dobbiamo arrivare fino alle 22, così poi da cambiare il kart, come da regolamento.
Fin qui com'è andato?
Ma le prime 4 ore è un po' così, adesso...
È il tuo kart quello che è arrivato, no?
No.
Ok. Ti spaventa, tra virgolette, dover sostenere un turno di guida così lungo e soprattutto con visibilità ridotta, perché poi una caratteristica appunto intanto vedete ovviamente il movimento, visibilità ridotta è una tematica ovviamente importante della 24 ore, ti preoccupa?
Ma non più di tanto, in realtà quello che mi preoccupa è ritrovarmi in pista da solo, senza magari fare un po' di bagarre, senza divertirmi. Questo potrebbe in realtà causarmi un po' di... non dico noia, però...
Quindi vuoi un confronto?
Ho più paura di questo, almeno se c'è movimento, c'è divertimento, certo. Il tempo passa.
Ma fin qui c'è stato per quando sei stato in pista?
Sì, direi di sì.
E in generale c'è qualche team che temi particolarmente, che secondo te è particolarmente in forma?
No, noi non tomiamo nessuno.
Ah, bene, quindi allora ci sentiamo anche di dare una dichiarazione in vista della giornata di domani?
Dateci il mezzo giusto e non temiamo nessuno, però vabbè, purtroppo in realtà la gara per noi è partita non nel migliore dei modi, quindi chiaramente non possiamo aspirare a chissà cosa.
Ok, è arrivato il tuo kart?
No, non so dove sia.
Bene, allora vi restituiamo la linea, ovviamente linea alla gara, noi torniamo però come sempre tra pochissimo con altre dichiarazioni, intanto li lasciamo fare i cambi in santa pace, ci togliamo noi.
So, really good to hear. I mean, I can't obviously completely understand the language, but you understand the adrenaline that's coursing through everyone's veins here at Ottobiano. But in the meantime, we have just over 17 and a half hours to go here on the timer at the second running of the Ultimate Endurance, the 24 by TB Kart and IRK Promotion here at the Ottobiano circuit. And a big thank you once again to them and to everyone behind the scenes here at TB Kart SRL that have really put so much hard work into this event. We're seeing a bit of a side-by-side duel going into turn 1. Now there is a few gaps that are closing, which includes 8th place TRX Motorsport. They're being chased down by NAC team in the number 28, but looks like we're going to be heading back down to Yelenia, who's standing by. Over to you, Yelenia.
Eccoci di nuovo in diretta con Federico Gargano, che vi devo confessare che a telecamere spente mi ha detto oggi sono un tuttofare, perché effettivamente noi lo stiamo osservando già da questa mattina, sta facendo un po' di tutto. Quali sono i tuoi ruoli nel tuo team?
Allora, stamattina autista per portare mio fratello qua.
Ecco.
Poi ho fatto le prove libere, qualifiche, che ho fatto il best nelle prove libere, e partenza, che è stata molto divertente, dove ho guadagnato 10 posizioni, poi però le ho perse. E adesso sto facendo un po' il team manager, gestendo i cambi, aiutando il pilota quando arriva a togliere i pesi.
Come hai fatto a perdere 10 posizioni?
Ero incantato a guardare il cielo.
Ecco. Sì, perché effettivamente poi in realtà oggi è stato un po' nuvoloso, però sicuramente la spettacolarità arriverà magari all'alba, no? Stiamo aspettando anche un po' quello.
Esatto. No, poi in realtà volevo restituirle a chi le avevo prese in partenza, quindi è stato
Ecco.
gentile.
Bellissimo gesto di fair play per il nostro Federico. Allora, come sta andando fin qui? Soprattutto, secondo te, hai notato qualcosa da migliorare? C'è qualcosa da aggiustare?
Ma sicuramente dobbiamo migliorare noi stessi come stile di guida, come al solito dobbiamo sempre cercare di limare ogni curva il centesimo, il decimo. E in realtà questo nuovo format dove è stato introdotto il cambio del mezzo lo ritengo molto interessante, che mischia un pochino più le carte e si vedono poi alla fine i veri valori in gioco.
Ma inizia a farsi sentire un po' la stanchezza?
Allora, prima un pochino l'ho sentita, adesso ovviamente ho la scarica di adrenalina del cambio, quindi non la sento, ma magari appena spegniamo le telecamere crollo.
Ma stanotte farai tutta una tirata, sarai sveglio oppure qualche ora comunque riposerai?
Non lo so.
Bene, lo lasciamo al caso. Quali sono i tuoi programmi? Cioè, non hai programmi?
Allora, adesso sta guidando mio fratello, poi guiderà Cesare, poi probabilmente toccherà a me e poi dopo
Una
il mio
pausa
turno-
per la cena?
Quella sì. C'è qua il camioncino dei panini che mi stuzzica.
Ovviamente noi, grazie mille a Federico, ovviamente vi raccontiamo anche tutti questi dettagli che fanno parte di una giornata importante e ripeto e sottolineo sempre, ci tengo, leggendaria come quella di oggi, perché la 24 ore è una gara a sé, quindi è bello anche raccontarvi non soltanto le cose di pista ma anche tutto ciò che c'è intorno, perché poi qui è stato allestito un bellissimo villaggio hospitality anche con momenti di attrazione, con il gonfiabile, abbiamo giocato a palla e poi ovviamente vi ricordiamo sempre di andare sui nostri profili social perché vi stiamo animando e vi stiamo raccontando un po' il tutto anche con diverse challenge. C'è stata la challenge del pit stop, ovvero abbiamo chiamato in causa alcuni piloti, altri team manager e li abbiamo messi alla prova chiedendogli di cambiare 2 gomme nel minor tempo possibile. In palio c'era una maglia e un cappellino targati, firmati TB Kart IRK Promotion. Hai partecipato anche tu e non sei andato neanche male, devo dire.
Mi sembra che ho fatto il terzo tempo, se non
Esatto.
sbaglio. Poi in realtà mi erano cadute le rondelle, ho perso qualche secondo. Però
Purtroppo queste rondelle hanno tratto in inganno un po' tutti, però sì, ecco, vi stiamo animando e vi stiamo raccontando tutto anche sui nostri profili social che come sempre vi invitiamo a seguire. Ora vi restituiamo la linea anche per continuare il racconto della gara.
Thank you very much, Yelenia, and we are back trackside with just under 17 hours and 28 minutes remaining on the timer until we hit the checkered flag at around about 2 o'clock local time here in Ottobiano. And there are a couple of teams that have going to have a couple of laps added to their total. Well, they're going to have 2 laps taken away, basically for not changing drivers during a pit stop. One of the things that they can't do is double stint. So karting tips, the number 39 has got a 2-lap penalty post-race. Debris Racing and the number 10 from Belgium, and also one of the other Belgian teams, JPRTF, have also come under the mire, but TRX Motorsports have been slowly reeled in by NACT. Now, before we went live, around about 25 minutes before we went live this evening, I did see one driver carry way too much speed coming out of the final corner and actually clip the tyre barrier of where the pit lane exit is. So there's a little gap between pit lane exit, and there's a little bit of a gap between the final corner and that row of tyres that breaks off. As you can see, some changes being made down in the pit lane, so that is where we will see at some point drivers changing karts. Of course, maximum time that's spent in one of these 18 horsepower 390cc stroke Honda karts, they can only be used for a maximum by one team 4 hours. So minimum changes, 6 kart changes during the 24 hours, and they can have a maximum of 12 kart changes throughout the 24 hours. However, as the regulations stipulate, no double stinting, even though Omar Aswat, I have to give that man from Karting Tips from the state of Qatar, he went in for a 1 hour and 46 minute combined stint. So that was him staying in the kart, and then said, admitted to me off air, we kind of didn't read that part of the we didn't notice that part of the regulations. But there are drivers coming in. Sparkarts Racing, the number 12 from Italy, they're in the pit lane. Armax Young, the number 17, have now come out of pit lane. But at the moment, the only two teams that are on the same lap are on the lead lap are the number 13 of PF Racing, the defending champions from last year, and Movers LV, the Latvian crew, with Davis Zalmans currently behind the wheel. He got behind the wheel about, I think probably the best part of nearly an hour ago, as there we see the number 12 Sparkart Racing. The teams are able to change tyre pressures during the race. Now they were put to a preset of, I think, 1.8 bar on the front, 2.0 bar on the rear. But as we have now cooler conditions in the fact that the temperature at its highest today was 26 degrees Celsius, we're now running at around about 20 degrees. Still cloudy, still cloudy above the circuit itself. But the floodlights, I can still see the mosquitoes being attracted by those high-density spotlights that are illuminating the whole of this 1.38 kilometre circuit. And now we are on 335 laps completed by our leaders, who are separated by just under 27.5 seconds after 335 laps, which roughly equates to just over 462 kilometres of total race distance by the leaders completed at this moment. There have been some more penalties going in. Now, penalties will be applied during the race, but obviously the penalties where they are laps that are going to be put on the penalties for the drivers, that's going to give a little bit of a motivational spur to those behind them to try and catch them up. And of course, some drivers might be able to get their heads down for a few more hours of well-rested, needed sleep, but some might be pushing through the midnight hours. And this is what we effectively know in endurance racing as the graveyard shift, whereby you've got to survive the night time. If you can survive through the night time, get to the early hours of the morning before sunrise tomorrow, that is going to be quite crucial for the team. Sunrise due to happen at about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, so that'll be 7 hours before we hit the checkered flag. But at the moment, other battles that are seeming to go on, I think it's kart 34 and kart 26. This is the battle for the final position in the top 20 at the moment. Andrea Schiavelli in RKS Training is against the number 26, Formula Cero, the Spanish entrant, with Pablo Sanchez Vera behind the wheel, and has been out for 9 minutes, so has had a little bit of time to relax, rehydrate, recuperate, and after that initial stint. Oh, and we've got an incident involving a couple of karts, and I think that is the safety karts out there as well. So that is going to be all right. So 2 karts are stationary. So safety kart being there just to be on the safe side. So if there's been a little bit of if there's been an incident, that's not exactly what needs to well, as I said, the drivers need to get through, the teams need to get through these nighttime hours, and the yellow flag is being waved, so no overtaking permitted. Now, I saw at around about 25 past 6 this evening, around about 20 teams got a 10-second penalty for for not slowing down under yellow flags. So yellow flags mean slow down, don't overtake, or stay where you are, do not overtake. Otherwise you will get an automatic 10-second penalty. So trying to, now the other one of the carts has got him going again. So one of the teams has hit trouble, and I'm waiting to see if there's one team that might tumble down. Now this could be crucial, and I'm wondering, now I'm just trying to get an eye on one of the carts that was compromised. Now I did see that the left front wheel was on, that's one good thing. So drama has befallen one team that is not circulating. So I'm wondering whether that's probably around turn 5, turn 6 on the infield section of the circuit before the twisty, snake-like infield. So that is not exactly what that particular team would have wanted. So a lot of keen eyes looking on at the circuit from the grandstand. And one of the good things about the grandstand here at Ottobiano is that you can literally, from that grandstand or the view area just to the left of it, you can see the entire 1.38 kilometer circuit.
Grazie Alex per la linea. Abbiamo trovato nei paddock oggi di Ottobiano un super ex pilota del passato, lui è Stefano Capraro, che ha vinto veramente tantissimo nel kart. E dopo quanti anni ti sei rimesso alla guida di un kart?
Dopo 10 anni, 11 anni, dal 2014 a oggi 11 anni.
Allora, come sono?
Sul kart, 11 anni che non salivo sul kart.
Ah, non salivi proprio sul kart, sei salito oggi?
No, beh, su questi diciamo.
No, certo.
Oggi.
E senti, com'è stato l'approccio?
Di oggi, guarda, ho girato pochissimo, è stato un po' di ruggine, si fa sentire, però adesso verso mezzanotte e mezza dovrei fare un bello stint notturno, vediamo di darci da fare per andare avanti.
Senti Stefano, non hai scelto proprio un weekend facile per rimetterti alla guida, perché 24 ore di kart si fa sentire.
Sì, mi hanno chiamato questi ragazzi per fare questa gara e ho accettato un po' così, a occhi chiusi, ecco.
La passione è rimasta.
Bravo. Vedremo, dopo ti saprò dire qualcosa, ecco.
Ti mancava l'adrenalina,
Sì, sicuramente, tanto.
Ecco, ma non è che ti riviene la voglia, ti rivediamo sul KZ tra un paio di mesi?
Speriamo, lì è un'altra cosa, sicuramente, però è bello emozionante anche questo, molto bello, una bella organizzazione, certo le gare in KZ poi sono diverse, però è bello emozionante anche questo.
Ecco, qua forse c'è più spirito di gruppo, più spirito di squadra.
Esatto, sì, c'è più, diciamo, la gara in KZ sei tu, le decisioni sono tue, tutto quello che fai è in base alla tua testa. Qua è un consulto della squadra, ecco, sicuramente.
Dovete sapere che di solito Stefano Capraro in questi 11 anni alle 11:15 è già a letto, adesso a mezzanotte e mezza risale sul kart.
Bravo, a quest'ora ero già quasi, no, adesso ancora no, però a mezzanotte e mezza sicuramente ero a letto.
E invece stasera è una serata diversa.
Esatto. Però mi fa piacere che dopo tanto tempo ci siamo anche rivisti, perché lui è sempre sulla breccia.
Va bene, grazie mille a Stefano Capraro, noi continuiamo con le interviste. Alex, a te la linea.
Great to hear that conversation between Riccardo and Stefano there on the grandstand, but of course I've got a feeling that it might have been the number 15 Wild Ball Racing that have come into pit lane. So whether that cart has been able to make its way back to pit road and get in. Now the key problem was one cart was not moving from that area of the circuit, and that can be, now if there was an incident that we saw, if there was a collision that was seen, then obviously race control will be looking at that and will have probably assigned a penalty. So Wild Ball Racing, who have now ended up at the bottom end of the top 25 behind Mr. Karting Warwick, as we see some people looking at the live timing on their smartphones, maybe even watching the stream as well on IRK TV, or if you are watching on GoTV channel 809, IRK TV YouTube, IRK Promotion Facebook, and also Italian Digital TV 244. We are broadcasting on multiple different platforms, and we'll be concluding our day one coverage at about 10 p.m. tonight, before we rejoin you back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then we'll also bring you live coverage of the final hour of the 24 for 2025 here at the Pista South Milano at Ottobiano. And a big thank you to the team here at Ottobiano to help us host this fantastic event once again. So we are fast approaching the turn of the hour, both on the wristwatch and also on the timer. We are fast approaching the conclusion of hour number 7 out of 24, and the lead gap, well, Nicholas Kruger, who has spent a total so far of 2 hours and 12 minutes, has been on the track for just over 62 minutes. Davis Zelmans has been on for an hour and 7. Red Racing, who were P3 last year, they've now managed to get themselves back up to third position, and that cart has been out for an hour and 12 minutes, and that's Daniele Cervaro who's behind the wheel of that. Then we've got the number 11 of Playcut with Riccardo Tosado, and then we've got Baptiste van der Heere for KMRS Racing from Belgium, rounding out the top 5. So still all 40 competitors are running, and it looks like Wild Ball Racing have got themselves back out on track. And behind the wheel of that cart is Marco Gini, who has just got behind the wheel 2 minutes ago. And there you see the complex of the exit of the pit lane, along with some of our eagle-eyed viewers on the grandstand. It's one of the things that really impresses me, because now that the night time is in full effect, all we're hearing is the lovely music of 390cc 4-stroke Honda engines, each producing 18 horsepower, and there's 40 of them. And that is a total combined amount of horsepower of 720. So there is still the safety cart, I think, on the inside of that complex where we saw one cart. So it's still there with its lights flash, its yellow lights flashing on. We've got a yellow flag at the so we've got a yellow flag, and that is going to be at the hairpin that takes you through the first sector. So of course, with the safety cart being there, the thing is that once everyone's signed to go on board with this event, obviously there is danger within motorsports. We all are aware of that. So there is one cart that is still stationary and not 100% able to pick out who that is. But let's head back to Riccardo, who's up in the grandstands once again. Riccardo, over to you, my friend.
E siamo con i piloti di auto vergiate, ragazzi, che sono qua in tribuna a riposarsi perché sono stanchi, vero?
Verissimo, abbiamo già girato, quindi meritato riposo ci vuole, giustamente.
Allora, come siete messi?
Ma oddio, eravamo messi abbastanza bene all'inizio. Siamo scesi un pochettino con i pit stop e qualche errorino, però tutto sommato non stiamo male, non stiamo malissimo.
Ecco, ma un pronostico per la gara. Tra l'altro davano pioggia, però per il momento qui intanto c'è stato un kart che ha preso le gomme. Dalle immagini sicuramente Francesco Turazza starà facendo vedere ciò che succede. Ecco, tu hai le prese le gomme?
No, noi no. Fortunatamente no, dai.
Meno male, meno male. Senti, in che posizione siete?
Guarda, adesso siamo in 31esima, con i cambi siamo scivolati in 31esima, anzi 30esima adesso.
30esima?
Sì, 30esima posizione, siamo scivolati per via dei cambi. Adesso recuperiamo, siamo fiduciosi.
Quindi domani alle ore 14 che ti verrò a intervistare, in che posizione sarete?
Ah, la nostra almeno entro i 20 sicuramente.
Dentro i 20? Me lo prometti?
Promesso, faremo il possibile.
Come ti chiami?
Io Gianluca.
Gianluca ci ha promesso che Auto Vergiate arriva nei primi 20.
Assolutamente sì, non sicuramente per merito mio, ma arriveremo nei primi 20.
Tu a che ora sali adesso?
Non lo so, guarda, i prossimi turni non li so perché sono sceso 2 turni fa.
Andrai a dormire un po'?
Beh, sicuramente sì.
Dai. Va bene, allora viva Auto Vergiate, che loro sono abituati alle supercar, però oggi un po' meno.
Beh dai, anche queste sono delle mini supercar.
Delle mini supercar, sono d'accordo. In bocca al lupo Gianluca.
Grazie.
Vai. E prima mi hai detto viva?
Non posso dirlo adesso.
Viva il kart!
Viva il kart.
Scusa, malizioso il nostro Gianluca. Alex, a te la linea.
Yes, we have got multiple yellow flags out on circuit. The hairpin that comes towards the end of the opening sector. Still, from what I noticed, we have got some karts now coming into pit lane. Kart 21, Brembo 58, Kart 11 play karts. There is a lot of activity going on in the pit lane, but also out on track. Now, I did hear a big thud of some description, so I apologise to Riccardo now for accidentally interrupting by mistake. But this, I said this was going to be a difficult time. We are 7 minutes and 10 seconds away from hitting 7 hours completed of the 24. And one of the biggest things about this is more drivers pulling into pit lane. Brembo 69 has just gone in. One of the other things with regards to this is also the fact that peripheral vision is in some ways compromised. Now, I've also heard of some difficulties with some drivers that have had. They've come in and during night time, it is recommended to have a clear visor at all points when it comes to nighttime racing. In other races, if it is nighttime, then you will actually be given the meatball flag to come in if you have a tinted or iridium visor on your race helmet. So with a clearer vision, obviously with like say Formula 1 with Singapore, Yas Marina, a lot of drivers will opt for that clear visor. And it's not going to be easy in some of the parts where it's not so quite floodlit. Say turns 2, turns 3. You know, you will have some illumination on the circuit, but you won't have the entire track completely illuminated. And I can see it like when they go through the sweeper at turn 1. But let's once again head back to Riccardo once more.
Oggi abbiamo deciso di andare un po' sugli spalti, a rompere le scatole a chi lavora, e siamo con questo ragazzo che non è italiano, non gli ho ancora chiesto di dov'è. Where are you from?
Belgium.
Ah, dal Belgio, quindi ci sono un bel po' di piloti belgi. Allora, what about this race?
Well, it's very different than Belgium. First of all, it was very warm in the day, so but the track is really nice, technical, and the karts, they're really good, way better than in Belgium.
Allora, dice che i kart sono molto buoni e che la pista è molto tecnica. The position now, your team?
At the moment we are P17, but we come from P7, but we had a penalty, so that was not so good.
Allora, sono in 27esima posizione per colpa di una penalità. Good luck e good job.
Thank you.
Vai.
Bye.
Vai. A te, Alex.
Thank you very much again to Riccardo. So we are 4 minutes away from hitting 7 hours out of 24 completed. Red Racing now pits from third on the road. They're 2 laps down off of the overall race leaders and the team that is looking to defend their crown. They were the inaugural winners of the 24 just 12 months ago. And now with over 352 laps completed, they are running at a blistering, consistent pace. Their last lap around was a 1 minute 8.6 by Niklas Kruger. Also another team running in the 108s at the moment is Mattia Masarotto for NAC team, the pole sitters for this year's event, and has just done a 1 minute 8.846. But let's head back once again to Riccardo. Looks like he's with the Goats Racing team.
E intanto siamo col team Goats, che vi ricordate alle ore 14 quando facevano i gradassi che partivano in seconda posizione? Adesso sono 15esimi. A parte gli scherzi, cos'è successo?
Ma niente di particolare in realtà, abbiamo scaricato un po' più di tempo di pit rispetto agli altri, abbiamo anche ancora qualche decimino da limare rispetto ai primi che vediamo che girano più forte di noi, però la gara è lunga, siamo fiduciosi, siamo qua per far bene perché vogliamo far bene, almeno ci proviamo.
Ecco, ma secondo te a livello statistico con le penalità, cioè scusa, con lo scarico dei pit stop che avete fatto, indicativamente come siete in classifica?
Ma dovremmo essere più o meno intorno alle prime 7 posizioni, non so adesso di preciso quanto, però comunque cioè, è lunghissimo, è ancora lunghissimo.
Ma qual è il vostro obiettivo?
L'obiettivo è l'obiettivo comune, è sempre vincere per tutti, scendono in pista e vincono. Poi dalla teoria alla pratica e dai sogni qualcosa cambia. Secondo me potremmo giocarci le prime 5 posizioni, ma la vittoria si sa già chi vince.
Ecco, come giudichi la gara dei tuoi fino adesso?
Ma i miei non stanno andando male, io è la prima volta che sono in veste solo da team manager, non da pilota. Abbiamo cercato di schierare i ragazzi migliori che avevamo a disposizione, hanno tutti più o meno lo stesso passo e stanno andando bene. Sì, poi li sgrido spesso in cuffia perché mi va a tribolare, però sono bravi.
Bene, allora vi auguriamo un buon continuo di gara. Sono solo le 8 e 3 minuti, no scusa, le 9 e 3 minuti, quindi manca ancora tanto e che vinca il migliore.
Speriamo.
Non ti toccare, si è toccato.
Deve toccare, si tocchi.
Si facci come Fantozzi. A te la linea, Alex.
Great to hear from the Goats Racing team alongside Riccardo once again. Of course, they started on the front row of the grid alongside NAC Racing. And so Goats Lab is currently down in 32nd. Goats Racing team currently round out the top 15, and they are trying to close in on the number 32 kart, Gaz Racing team. And then ahead of them, they've got quite a few other drivers. Behind the wheel, Kevin Liguori is behind the wheel of the number 7. And it's trying to make up time. Now, obviously, as the times will start coming down as the temperatures. Now, I'm seeing a few more teams start hitting the 108s, which is showing that with the cooler temperatures, these karts are going to be able to get a little bit more denser, colder air, and thereby that will help. With air density going into a small intake, that means that more surface area will be covered as a direct result. Bremo 77, currently in the number 31 kart. Currently 31st, well now 32nd, had just come in for another pit stop. Matteo Rondena behind the wheel of that. That's nearly 3 wide coming out of the final corner. One kart getting so close to the tyre barriers on the exit of that final turn. I've already had one person, and as I said just 20 minutes before we went on air, someone came hurtling around that final corner with a big lick of speed, and they actually clipped. As I said, they ended up going down the pit lane exit by mistake. Now, as I said, peripheral vision at this point of the competition is going to be compromised. Now, there will be drivers that who will have said, right, I want to get through the night. I want to make sure that we get through at this point, and I want to make sure that our team has every opportunity in the world to try and go for, let's say if they're in the top 25, maybe try for a top 15, maybe try for a top 10. As Bremo 77 now returns to the circuit. So out of the drivers, Davide Riccardi has spent the most time so far on the wheel. Just over 2 hours and 3 minutes, as we are now into hour 8, and after this hour we will be 1/3 of the way through of the 2025 edition. But let's head up to Riccardo up in the grandstand once again.
Grazie Alex della linea, sono le 21:08 e c'è gente che lavora.
Già, qui bisogna seguire questi piloti.
Allora, di che team siete?
Siamo Bremo 58.
E come sta andando? Bene, vedo.
Sta andando abbastanza bene, sì, abbiamo avuto qualche sfortuna, però a parte che la gara è ancora molto lunga.
Siete ottavi?
Sì, in questo momento sì.
Che cosa ti aspetti dai tuoi piloti?
No, io gli chiedo di fare il meglio, di fare il meglio possibile e speriamo di arrivare ben più avanti.
Ecco, ma tu stasera andrai un po' a dormire o non li molli?
No, io mi farò dare il cambio verso le 2 di notte, sì.
Senti, se devi fare adesso, visto che sono passate un po' di ore dall'inizio della gara, se dovessi fare un pronostico per domani, come vedi i tuoi piloti sotto la bandiera a scacchi?
Mi piacerebbe vederli sul podio comunque.
E noi ve lo auguriamo, In bocca al lupo. Grazie mille. A te Alex.
Thank you very much, Riccardo. Once again, speaking to one of the members from Bremo Racing. They have got 3 crews. Kart 21, which is Bremo 58. Car 36, that is Bremo 69, and 31, that is Bremo 77. And look at this peloton that's making its way through the twisty, snake-like infield. Line astern, drivers waiting for their opportunity to make a move. And not to leave it right until the last gasp. We've seen a few times when drivers have gotten a little bit over-exuberant with overtaking. And of course, when it considers that, the leaders who are still on the lead lap at the moment, but PF Racing have now pulled a gap that is over 51 seconds We are now on lap 360. And this quintet still battling tooth and nail, firing it through into the fast right-hander here at turn 1. And then it goes and rotates a little bit further into 2. Then it's the right into 3 before the short shoot up to the hairpin here at turn 4. Drivers again jockeying for position. Don't go too wide, especially if you're on the outside of that hairpin. You're going to be hung out to dry somewhat. But still, the work is endless. The night will feel like an absolute lifetime for these teams and drivers. And effectively, we're around about just under 10 hours away from sunrise. So it's effectively going to be, I think we're going to have 50% in the dark, 50% under under normal light conditions. But just got to be so careful coming out of that final right-hander. They're carrying so much speed. I think it's probably the best part of 85 to 90 kilometers an hour. Now these R1 karts that TB Kart use for a variety of their different championships. Of course, they've been used in the finals that were held around about 3 months ago at Kartland Paris, with my good friend Jake Sanson being on site. And greetings from us all here at the TB Kart family to Thailand, where he currently resides at the moment. But it just goes to show that how close these karts are matched. We've talked about parity, but too wide into that part of the circuit that is a bit dicey, and they are nearly it's nearly heart in the mouth moment stuff here. Driver's trying to fire it up the inside like a rocket ship, doing the Daniel Ricciardo, lick the stamp and send it, why don't you? And this might be the fact that drivers within a certain cluster of karts might think, well, hang on a second, could we have the possible opportunity of getting a little bit of an advantage on our opposition who might be behind us? And that's a dive and a half into turns 2 and 3, and whoever was in that yellow race suit has just made it, but is going to possibly lose a position here on the hairpin. Not quite. But whoa, this just goes to show that it doesn't matter what battle you're having, you are battling with another driver out on track, and you will want to do your utmost to keep things going. Let's head back to Riccardo.
C'è un bel cambio pilota qua, anzi no, c'è la pressione delle gomme da parte di questo team manager nei confronti del suo pilota. Tanto guarda Luca, se vogliamo far vedere anche la strumentazione sul volante, lì hanno i giri, l'ultimo tempo, l'ultimo giro, il best lap, hanno veramente tutto. Intanto sta facendo le pressioni a tutti e 4 gli pneumatici, vediamo se lui ci dirà a quanto vanno le pressioni oggi, vediamo se ce lo svelerà. Attimi concitati, vi sta dicendo di tenere il tempo, perché ogni pilota dovete sapere che ha un tempo minimo e massimo di entrata e di uscita dalla corsia dei box e bisogna essere molto precisi. Tanto ormai com'è andata?
Bene, tutto bene, cambio pilota fatto, ora pressioni.
Le pressioni a quanto le facciamo?
Tocca tenerle un po' altine per far aiutare il kart
ma non ci dici a quanto?
No, è segreto.
Ma di dove siete voi?
Noi Roma, quindi tutti più o meno da intorno lì.
Come si chiama il team?
Roma Karting 7.
Ah ok, come siete adesso in classifica?
Giochiamo intorno tra la quinta e la 10ª posizione. Ci stiamo difendendo, nonostante ancora non abbiamo trovato la quadra col kart giusto per adesso, però cerchiamo di dare il massimo.
Su 40 iscritti insomma non è poco.
Sì, puntiamo un po' più in alto, però dai, è ancora lunga la gara, speriamo bene.
Vi auguriamo una grande gara.
Grazie.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao grande, ciao. Alex, a te.
Once again, great to see Ricciardo getting stuck in the pit lane. He's definitely elbows out tonight, as are the drivers out on the circuit. But there's been a change. Movers LV, Davis Zalmans has come into pit lane, and that now means that PF Racing have a 2-lap advantage. But of course, they've only done 4 pit stops. Oh, this is side by side into turn 1, and a change of position. Great to see moves happening like that, where they come through the final sector at breakneck speed. Had a really good chat with I think, if I remember correctly, it was from TRX Motorsports. Now, there are some interviews coming up on the IRK promotion social media, and I have to say she's done a really, really good job so far. Managed to grab a chat with Lucy Shuckford, aka Shucky, and there's an in-house family joke about that, because she's got actually Shucky, which is Suchkie, on the bottom of the legs on her race overalls. She's one of a few female drivers that we also have on this grid as well, and it's great to see that. I said that Arrive and Drive karting, especially at a premium event like this at the 24, it's great to see women getting behind the wheel, and she's really enjoyed the experience so far, and loves the final sector. I think a lot of people on this grid also love the final sector at the racetrack here at Ottobiano. It's just seeing the drivers first of all do that through free practice earlier on this morning before we got into time qualifying for the event itself. It was just one of those things you just have to watch firsthand. So that is NAC team, our pole sitters, in pit lane. They're dropping towards the bottom part of the top 10 at the moment as we speak. But depending on Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus 1, with Chris Dimitru behind the wheel, who's done a total amount of 1 hour and 50 minutes. So there has been a change that Movers LV have dropped behind KMRS Racing, who have Baptiste van der Beek, who's done such an amount of driving behind the wheel. He's done 3 hours and 41 minutes in total in that team, and Lucas Urbani has done just around about 2 hours 18. The third member of their team, Samuel Liebert, yet to get behind the wheel of the cart, and I'm wondering if Samuel might decide to do some burning of the midnight oil. But race leaders, PF Racing, have just come into pit lane. Nicholas Kruger has just come in at having spent a total of 2 hours and 39 minutes. As looks like that's Mattia Mazur. Right, well, I'm not too sure who's going to be out when the transponder bracelet is recognised by the live timing system. We will be back to finding out who will be behind the wheel. But more refueling going on as we speak. That's Kart 19 that is in the pits. Gasseria 361. And behind the wheel of the cart at the moment is Massimo Ordelli, who's spent just over an hour and 10 minutes in total. Go TV is in the pit lane as well. For Gasseria 361, it's Alessio Enriquez that has spent the most time behind the wheel, and that is 3 hours and 6 minutes in total. So some drivers putting in a lot of the leg work, but now things are slightly changing in terms of the sharp end of the field. PF Racing now have a 1 lap advantage, and there's Go TV's just been given a 10-second time penalty for changing lanes in the pits, and we found that out earlier on when Wild Bull Racing got a 30-second time penalty for entering into the pit lane just before the window opened, just before the 10-minute mark, and then got hit with another slam dunk penalty, also caught changing lanes, and that gave them a total combined penalty early in the race of 40 seconds. So we are just over a quarter of the way through hour number 8 of the second edition of the 24 by TB Karts and IRK promotion here at Ottobiano at the Pista South Milano in the Pavia region, not too far off of the border between the Pavia and the Lombardy region. So once again, when the carts come in for their fuel stops, they will lift the back axle up and lubricate the chain and the sprocket. As I said, this is preventative maintenance, so it helps to keep carts running. It also minimises the window of opportunity for a chain to come off. Now, it is not that now the driver will have to be in situ in the cart. They cannot get out of it. They are not allowed to refuel. It's a member of the TB Kart staff that will do so. And effectively at the moment, folks, we are 4 hours and 43 minutes away from hitting the halfway point. So what we could find, if the weather stays clear, weather stays dry, it could be the case that teams might find that it might be the case that we might have carts having front tyre changes. And they're taking the brunt of the work. Now obviously this is bearing in mind different driver skill levels. There's a lot of people who said, well, we might be out of our depth, but we're going to give it a go. And that's probably the best thing that you can do. Debris Racing with Zonderverschuren now leaving the pit lane. So all 4 of the drivers, so Zonderverschuren, Lentham Embrechts, Bart Dergent, and then Yannis Kartevels, that have all taken a turn in that kart. Now that team will be docked 2 laps over the total that they will have completed at the end of the 24 hours, along with 2 other teams. But you can see there's a gantry just off of the final corner where there may be people with radios giving a little bit of encouragement to the teams, and that's exactly what they're going to need. Once again, you can see all the flags, IRK promotion, TB Kart. You can see national flags being shown from the 13 different nationalities, or some of the international nationalities that are part of the TB Kart family. But still, with 370 laps completed, the defending champions, PF Racing, Christian Duven, finally gets a chance to be behind the wheel after we have had from that team Vika Schleds, Niklas Kruger and Dennis Hiller. And Hiller has done the most amount of wheel time at the moment, 3 hours and 20 minutes, pretty much. Electro Group Karting now exit pit lane. The number 1 karts from Italy. Umberto Parlamento. They've got a big team on there. 9 drivers comprising of that team. And I think it might be, I'm just waiting to see who will be. Well, Berto Parlamento was the driver shown in the kart. It might be possibly Alessandro Camossa. Camossa that might be behind the wheel now. Cartel with Angela Guglielmi now in the pit lane for the Swiss outfit in the number 6, and is done the second amount of driving, or the second most amount of driving behind Enzo Roccati, who's done just over 2 hours and 4 minutes. As the time now fast approaches, well, is approaching in the next few moments, 9:30 local time. So we have been racing for probably the best part of nearly 2.5 hours under the nighttime sky. 5.5 hours will have been under daytime conditions, even though there was not really, there was some blue sky up above, but more to the point, it was the case of, well, let's see how we fare. People were expecting the wet stuff to come tumbling from the skies above. However, that has not yet transpired. And there is the pit lane that the drivers will exit from. So Cartel rejoin in 24th position. Around about 12 laps down off of the leaders. And Enzo Roccati now takes over in the number 6 Cartel entry from Switzerland. But PF Racing now have completed 373 laps. Now, one of the other things with regards to the strategy, you know, there are some drivers that feel a little bit more comfortable during night time and find that they have a better way of judging braking distances, rotation through corners. But of course, when you got a track that is pretty much 90% completely floodlit, but with a few places here or there where it might catch drivers out, and in some respects that has been the case. Oh, a bit of a squabble here, and that is heading into the final sector. Oh, dearie me, it's a quintet of karts. And this, you know, when you're close in proximity to other karts, yes, rubbing's racing, but karting is a non-contact sport. They've got to be very, very careful. Now, you can draft behind a cart behind the cart in front of you, but you cannot get right on their rear bumper and start touching, because one wrong move from the cart in front and you're going to go straight into their rear end and possibly spin them out by accident. It has happened before in endurance races, but of course the organisers really sort of said to the drivers, this is what we expect. So Mr. Karting Warwick now in the pit lane, along with Formula Zero. So the refueling process underway as we speak. Now Ayrton Sumner showing in the number 20 car, the Mr. Karting Warwick team. Had a wonderful chat with my good friend Stu Stretton, karting photographer extraordinaire in the United Kingdom, but also a glutton for punishment, as he decided to do the 12 hours at the 12-hour endurance completely solo. And he's even said he's planning to do the 24 next year completely solo, but then he nearly thought, I might try and rope Alex into the seats. And I'm like thinking, hang on a second, I'll be way out of my depth there. So we have now hit 9:30 local time, 16 and a half minutes to go, 16 and a half hours, 16 hours and 35 minutes left to go. You can tell it's been a very, very long day for everybody involved. But this day, this twice around the clock adventure is far, far from over. More pit stops happening. So there's the number 20. Stu Stretton on the tyre pressure gauges. Looks like Ayrton Sumner's now handed over to Leo Brown. Leo Brown who's, if I remember correctly, I saw him wearing a Motorsport UK Academy t-shirt. So one of the drivers recognised by Motorsport UK, the ASN for the United Kingdom, under the governance of the FIA. So I think possibly Pablo Sanchez might be taking over for Formula Zero, the number 29. Now obviously, one of the big things with regards to tyre pressures, it depends on consistency. It also depends on how the drivers are finding the track as it evolves, because of course with these slick tyres they are laying rubber down onto the circuit on the racing line, but also you'll get these little pellets of rubber that will be coming off of the carcass of the tyre, which effectively what you would call in Formula 1 marbles, or GT3 racing marbles. And if you go off the racing line, you're going to get more pickup on the front tyres particularly, and maybe that might force an issue with understeering through corners, but that depends on the bravery of the individual behind the wheel. So Mr. Karting Warwick now back out on circuit. Oh, and Armax Jr. who just, oh dearie me, 10-second penalty for Armax Jr. for dangerous driving. Now the drivers have got to watch their P's and Q's out on the track. It doesn't matter whether it's 16 and a half hours to go, whether it's half an hour to go, whether it's the beginning of the race. Driving standards are there for a big old reason. And Formula Zero, are they going to get out in time? 4 minutes 42. Oh, they made that window by 18 seconds. And the number 1 kart, Electro Group Karting, they have now just been hit with a second penalty of not slowing down under yellow flags, and they're not the only ones. Formula Zero have just been hit with a 20-second penalty for the same secondary offence. Now, bearing in mind, our first penalty was at 2:13 this afternoon, and now 7 hours and 20 minutes later, we have another. Oh, hang on a second. Kart 32 Gaz Racing Team. Oh, this. What? So they've done a second offence. Slipstream Racing from Switzerland. They've got a 10-second penalty, but it was only their first offence, so they don't get the double bubble, unfortunately. But fortunately for them, they're out of trouble. Okay, Kart 34 RKS Training. Again, the same penalty as Kart 2 for Slipstream Racing. And I don't think we'll be done yet with slowing down under yellow flag penalties, whether it's a second or a first offence. So more pit stops are currently happening at the circuit. Still waiting to see if there are any further incursions. That looks to be the case, that there was only a handful of penalties issued. So 5 on that particular occasion. The last time, I think it was over half the field that got penalised. So once again, it is just that case of watching what you're doing. As Red Racing now come into the pits, and that would have been at for 4th position. And so that then promotes 24 TRX Motorsport with at the wheel Craig Dickinson, who's done an hour and 20 minutes so far, according to the to what I see on the information I'm provided via the live timing. Roma Karting 7 are in the pit lane in the number 3. And now you can see how dark it's gotten in the pit lane. It's like someone's just put a big black dark blanket and gone, right, lights out everybody. So now kart 22, Red Racing driver will be Wade. So Red Racing out of the pits after just under the cart's in the pits. Michele Suardi has just got him behind the wheel. So there is still a lot of this race to go. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Watch old Bandit run. If anyone remembers that song, whether it be at the circuit or at home where you're watching, I'm sure you might understand exactly where that musical reference came from. But still at the moment, there's Suardi. Right, tyre pressure checks and possibly adjustment, whether it's pumping up or releasing some of the air from the tyres. Roma Karting 7 dropped down to 19th. Red Racing now currently in 9th. So there is still quite a bit of on-track action as Red Racing P3 last year. They now exit the pits after 4 minutes and 18 seconds. So Roma Karting 7, they've been in the pits for just over 3 minutes. Also, there are drivers in varying shapes and sizes, ladies and gentlemen. And that does include the height of the... Oh, right, we've got a car to the standstill at the hairpin at turn 4 at the end of sector number 1. Yellow flags being waved, so that means slowing down, no overtaking permitted. So right, so the safety car has been called, obviously to make sure that that area is safe. Now the driver will need to get out under their own steam, which it looks like the driver is doing. So the safety car will then go in front of the kart that is now stationary. And I'm wondering whether it might be, now there is one kart that I can't see going across the line, which might be Lions RT. They crossed the line just a moment ago, and now they are being pushed by the safety kart back to pit lane. So hopefully very shortly I'll be able to get an eagle eye on the kart number. We can only see them on the front Nassau panel. So I think that might be kart 25, which it is. So kart 25, Lions RT, are now being assisted by the safety kart back to pit lane. And Tommaso Bruno behind the wheel. So that kart came to an abrupt stop at turn 4. So if there's a technical issue, that does mean that the team can opt for a kart change. So Tommaso Bruno for Lions RT in the number 25 safely makes it with the assistance of the safety cart to move to pit lane. So I would imagine that there will be a kart available for the team to go into. So the karts, the number plate has been taken off of the Nassau panel, and there is a kart standing by. So Tommaso Bruno, Red Racing has just received a slap on the wrist. They've just been given a 10-second penalty. It's now been applied. Changing lanes in the pits. Now also with the R1 chassis that I haven't really talked that much about in terms of the, well, you can see that by the lettering looks like it's Maxxis tyres on the kart, but you can also see that it has a racing style steering wheel, and there's also a display on the steering wheel as well, which normally will be affixed by, that will normally be like a mobile phone carrier there. But we are 16 hours and 21 minutes to go, and it looks like we're going to head back down to pit lane. Let's hand it over to Riccardo.
Ed eccoci in compagnia del team manager della Skart Working, ormai volti noti nelle nostre dirette. È arrivato il pilota, ci devi lasciare?
Sì.
Vai, allora ti accompagniamo in questa fase e ci racconti cosa stai facendo.
Sto misurando le pressioni in modo tale da metterle, abbassare un attimino in questa sessione di gara perché si è raffreddata la temperatura.
Ok, ma ci puoi dire a quanto le fai? Ci puoi dire? È un segreto, è un segreto, è un segreto. No, è un segreto a quanto sta facendo le pressioni. Ok, intanto in che posizione siete?
Siamo al momento quinti.
Quinti? Ah, ok. Senti, il go-kart come va?
Bene, bene, spero di fare uno stint migliore rispetto al precedente, ma bene.
Okay. Questo è il tuo ultimo giro, 1.90.
No, l'ha fatto il mio compagno.
Tu vuoi andare più forte?
Io ho fatto più o meno questo.
1.99? Ah, bene. Senti, com'è l'organizzazione? Ti stai divertendo?
Sì, è una bella esperienza.
Ormai siete, diciamo, di routine qua, siete dei, insomma, un po' il team di riferimento.
No, non ho capito.
No, ho detto che insieme ad altri team siete un po' un team di riferimento.
No, è veramente un bel evento, mi piacerebbe rifarlo in futuro.
Bene, buona gara. Intanto facciamo lavorare il nostro team manager. Più veloce del pit stop della Ferrari. Allora, secondo te come arriveranno alle ore 14 di domani i tuoi piloti?
Ti rispondo come ti ho risposto inizio gara, top 5.
Top 5.
Per ora è andata bene, siamo partiti settimi, alla prima curva eravamo quinti, quindi è andata bene.
Il numero 5 ti sta portando.
Sta andando bene, quindi continuo in questa.
Non diciamo niente.
Non dico niente.
Non diciamo niente. Bene, ti ringraziamo tanto. Buona continuazione. Ma stasera andrai a dormire un po'?
Lo spero.
Va bene. Te lo auguriamo. Ciao. Alex, a te la linea.
Grazie mille Riccardo, and we are still racing with our elbows out here at Ottobiano as we are fast approaching the last 18 minutes and 20 seconds of what will be 1/3 of the race completed. Our race leaders, PF Racing, who took the lead at the 52-minute mark, thanks to the efforts of one charging young man in the form of Vika Schleds, now have a 1-lap lead. Christian Duven now has nearly spent half an hour behind the wheel. Baptiste van der Beek for KMRS Racing from Belgium is not that far behind, but also it's an interesting development because TRX Motorsport in the number 24 have moved up into third. Movers LV now out after 3 minutes. Slipstream Racing back in the pits. Playkart in the pits as well, the two Swiss teams. And looks like Davis Zalmans has taken his place back behind the wheel of the number 38 kart. The opening stint done by veteran driver Heinrich Gruber. But again, like I say, it's about getting these pit stops right. If you go over that 5-minute time in the pit stop, that gets automatically added. There's the number 11. Right, now I can see the bright yellow race suits of the team from Switzerland. And of course, a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in so far over on live coverage on GoTV channel 809, the IRK TV YouTube channel, IRK Promotion Facebook, and also on Sky Italian Digital TV channel 244. You can just see how dark it is by the picture-in-picture as drivers fire their way through that final corner. Absolutely mesmerising to watch as the number 11 karts of Playkart now rounding out the top 10. Are they going to remain in 10th position? The kart now fires out of pit lane, and Riccardo Tosato now retakes the driving duties for the Swiss team that now keep a hold of that 10th place. And just to see the consistency that we're seeing some teams. Right. Kart 2, Slipstream Racing with Maximilian Scheider behind the wheel now has been in the pit lane for nearly 3 minutes. RPM in the pit lane. Otto Vergati Supercar in pit lane. 4 Racing Kart in pit lane. RMAX Jr. also in pit lane. And the 2 teams that have gone double digits on pit stops so far, Cartel in the number 6 rounding out the top 20. And down in 37th position, the number 1 kart of Italy's Electro Group Karting. There's going to be a lot more pit stops between now and 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And that's going to be basically 9 hours of racing under dark, but the sun will start peering up a little bit before 7 o'clock, maybe between half an hour to 3/4 of an hour in front of that. And there is the number 35 Ford Racing Kart entry in the pit lane. Tyre pressure's being checked and maybe adjusted. So there is still a lot of this race to go. Ford Racing Kart now have dropped from what was 19th. They now drop outside of the top 20. They've been in the pits for 3 minutes. RPM have been in for over 2.5 minutes. R-Max Jr. now hitting nearly 1 minute and 45. For some people, these close to 8 hours will have flown by. So effectively, we've completed 7 hours and 47 minutes of this race with just over 13 minutes to go until we hit 1/3, and then it's 16 hours to go. I have to say, complimentary to all these drivers. Absolutely fantastic that with such a high competitive 40 strong field here at Ottobiano, it has been absolutely enthralling to watch. Right, the pole sitters NAC team in the pit lane for what is now their 8th stop. And they're going to drop from 7th position. How far they drop down depends on how long they remain in the pit lane. Damiano Rosato behind the wheel of that kart and has spent about 35 minutes in the vehicle. Ford Racing Karts are cutting it fine. 4 minutes and 45 seconds. 15 seconds away. RPM could be close to that maximum window of 5 minutes that is allowed as per the regulations. Right, we've got 3 teams now under investigation for kart time usage, and that is Kart 20, Mr. Karting Warwick, Kart 18, Go TV, and Kart 1, Electro Group Karting. They are all under investigation for kart time usage. So if they've swapped the karts earlier on and they've exceeded that 4 hours, that is automatically monitored by timing, and there could be a big penalty coming each of the team's way if that time has been exceeded. So the failure for max now for failing to, so if they've decided if they've exceeded the maximum time to use the kart, it is 10 seconds for each minute, the maximum time of 4 hours that they've gone over by. So effectively, if that is 18 minutes, that is 180 seconds. That's an additional 3-minute penalty that gets added as a direct consequence. So if they've gone over by half an hour, that's 5 minutes of additional penalties that team will be given. But we wait to find out if they have exceeded the max usage time, or even if they've changed a kart within 10 minutes. So if they've changed it after 4 minutes, that's going to be 1 minute of additional penalties added. So 6 minutes times that by 10, that's 60 seconds. Add a minute to that of penalties to that team. Whether we do find out before we go off air until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, is anyone's guess, but still at the minute we are close to hit. Now when we hit 400 laps, we'll have hit over 550 kilometres. There's cart number 14, RG Racing, in the pit lane. TRX Motorsport are now in the pit lane. They've come in from third, which promotes Bremo 58 to third place. Francesco Torboli behind the wheel. Craig Dickinson has done 3.25 hours for the number 24 team. Drivers from all over the place, run by Team Boss Amanda, who myself and Billy from TB Kart, we managed to have a wonderful chat with her and some of the team last night after the English part of the briefing for the 24. So Kart 7 is in the pit lane. And that's Goats Racing Team, who started on the outside of the front row alongside NAC Team. And NAC currently at the moment are 11th on the road at the minute. They're currently 9 laps off of the leaders. But more activity, more drivers coming into pit lane, more of these tyre pressure checks and adjustments. And you can see how bright the chronometers are on the steering wheel of the drivers. It is a racing style steering wheel, so basically pretty much what you would have on a factory TB kart supplied by the company themselves. But we have hit 400 laps, 552 kilometres have been completed by our race leaders. PF Racing and the number 13, the German team, looking to do the double. They won it last year, and they are looking very, very strong indeed. The lap times about a second off their fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 8.109, which was set in the early couple of hours. But really, folks, things are coming to a little bit of a close here on the live stream for today. We have to say a few thank yous to everybody that has been watching. I'm going to stay with you right up until 10 o'clock. But there has been a lot of conversations being had around the circuit from people in the grandstand between the teams. And of course, a big thank you, complimenti to every one of the members of the team here at TB Kart and IRK Promotion to make this event happen. Without their hard work in the months and the weeks leading up to this event, it wouldn't really be possible. So tomorrow you can rejoin us at 10 a.m. local time, Central European summertime. If you're watching from the United Kingdom, it's 9 o'clock. If it's Arabian Standard Time, 2 hours in front. But on behalf of Ricardo, Yelenia, we've had a fantastic evening here over the last hour and a half. So from myself, Alex Goldschmidt, thank you so much for watching. Grazie a tutti. And as they say over here, a domani. Good night. See you tomorrow morning as we head into the final few hours of the 24 here at Ottobiano for 2025.